Welcome to today's Ask the Masters podcast, and we're going to be talking with Dave Peterson and really kind of diving into the exciting new news about Construction 2111, which is the foundation for all of the education within the Watershape University platform. And so it's a class that changes everybody's perspective, from a guy who's been in the industry for 6 months to someone who's been in the industry 30 years. Over the years, this content, as it's been taught for many, many years by Dave and by Bill and by the rest of the team here, this content has a way of transforming and changing business practices like nothing else within the industry. And so just want to introduce Dave, not that you need any introduction, but tell us a little bit more about Construction 2111 and what you guys have done with it, because what you guys have done with this class is now pretty revolutionary, if you ask me.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. What I think the biggest thing is that we took the core team that we've had doing the construction school for many years with Genesis, and we went through and updated the manuals. We've got Eric Herman on board with Watershapes as our editor. He went through and polished those up even more. We added more drawings, more photos, really did a complete update of the manual from beginning to end. And we broke it down into 1-hour units and kind of restructured things a little bit. Then what we did is we did the presentations as approximately 1-hour recordings, some of them a little longer, some maybe a little shorter, but we ended up with about 24 hours of content again across 22 units, and we put it all online. That's the big change here, is that it is all online and in an asynchronous format, meaning you can take it whenever you want at your own pace. So each hour includes lecture. There's you actually, when you sign up the same day or within, if it's late in the day, I guess it'd be the next day, but we FedEx out a manual to you, so you get the whole manual in color, all of the content in there. But if you're impatient and you want to get started right away, each unit actually has a PDF of that unit in the manual right there in the system. So you can see that there's quizzes for each unit. There's other references in there that expand your knowledge beyond the class. But the idea is that we make this readily available to everybody, because I think this class should be done by everybody in the industry, no matter what you do. If you're a builder, a service professional, a subcontractor, even a sales rep, if you get hired even to sell product at, SCP, for example, you should know about the product that you're selling. And, we don't get into the nitty-gritty of products per se, but you have to understand where those fit into the context of the whole system. And that's really what that class does, is it walks you through, from basically documentation and certain engineering trades like structural, mechanical design, electrical work. And then you get into layout and forming and, steel work and concrete, shotcrete, and all the way through until the pool is filled with water, and the last unit talks about your punch list with the owner. So it's really, how you build a pool. And if you are in retail sales and someone comes in and says, well, my water turned green, what do I do? Well, if the answer is to sell them a bunch of chlorine, that may be the wrong answer. What if the pump isn't working? What if the filter cartridges need to be replaced, or the DE needs to be flushed out and replaced? There's a lot of reasons why the system wouldn't work, but if you don't understand Pool 101, then you really aren't going to be a very effective salesperson or very helpful to your clients. So we feel like this class needs to be step one for everyone in the industry, no matter what it is that you do. And so,
let me interrupt a little bit too.
yeah.
Not just for people within the industry. You know, over the years, I know a bunch of design professionals have come in and taken the class as well, and they have found it very helpful as well, because they now understand, you know, they can draw the architectural design is what we call it, kind of the shape of the pool and all of that, but they also need to understand somewhat about the process and what some of the limitations are, and about, you know, how many pumps you're going to need and those kind of things. And so, you know, it's even for people outside of the actual pool industry itself, it's a very helpful class. And it doesn't get so deep in the weeds that you lose people. This class is a good overview class, talking about codes and talking about the reasons why we have 4,000 psi shotcrete and different things like that. So it's a good overview class to give you the foundation that you need to go on to advanced construction and fluid engineering and some of those other classes. But it's you know, it's helpful for people, not even just the ones in the industry.
Yeah, it's, you know, like I see plans that we get from, you know, landscape architect, where they've put the pool in a certain location that, you know, may initially seem like a good location from an aesthetic standpoint, but then when you explain that they put it out on the hillside where it's all fill, and that there's a $80,000 foundation required to put it there versus just moving the pool over to some other location, all of a sudden that changes everything. So landscape architects, landscape designers, architects for homes have found use for this class because it does sort of establish some rules of thumb that they use to guide their own design. So yeah, I agree. And again, that's why this is really the foundation for everything. And then we've got all these other smaller classes, many of them free online at online.watershape.org. That's our portal for all of the free content. There are some small paid classes in there as well. And then we've got our cost estimating, and soon we'll have essential fluid engineering on there as well. But that a lot of those other classes start getting into the weeds a little bit more. You know, it'll be something more specific about steel, for example, or something more specific about concrete, or, you know, how to do plumbing layout really well, or something like that. Those are things that we just, you know, we could try to take the 24 hours and expand it, but 24 hours is a lot. You know, it's more than the other entities are doing now by 50%, you know. But we think it's all essential education for everyone in the industry. And we've been working on this for a long time. We started with the manual stuff really last summer, and used our class that we did at Hayward's facility as the test run of the content and the new structure of it. And that, of course, gave us feedback, which we used with Eric Herman's input to polish things up even more. And then we started the recordings in January, and it's really taken Brett, you know, the last 3 months or so to get all of the editing done right, get everything posted to online.watershape.org, and really get it all set up so that the quality is there. You know, we want to make sure that not only is the quality of the material right, but that the quality of the delivery is good as well. We can't trip here. You know, this is the start of everything. What we want to do is inspire people to come back and get more, and I think they will. I think people will see pieces here and say, you know what, I want to learn a little bit more about that. What's the next step? And hopefully, if they don't find it online, they'll find it in a live class at a city near you.
So let's drill down a little bit more, and just so that we are completely clear. One of the things about construction school and many of the WU classes is that it's a bit like drinking from a fire hose. And so they're very content rich classes, and there's a lot of information that comes at you. And I know, when I'm taking a class, oftentimes there's this one segment of a class that I don't quite grasp. And with live education and with in-person training, there's a pace that you have to move at, and you can't necessarily slow down. If somebody's really struggling with a concept, you have to kind of circle back with them, because the pace of the class is such that you have to get through the content in the amount of hours. And so one of the things that I think this is so revolutionary is that you've broken this down into 22 individual modules, and those 1 hour-ish modules are all self-paced. And so you can listen to it. If there's, say on module 11, you don't quite get it, you can go back and redo module 11 2 or 3 or 4 times, or whatever it's going to take for you to be able to grasp the concept and master it before you have to move on to module number 12. And unlike some of the online education that is out there right now, this is completely self-paced. If you want to sit down on a Saturday and knock out 8 or 10 or 12 hours on a Saturday, you can. If you can only do an hour once a week, that is fine too. You don't have to drink from the fire hose. You can actually consume this at a pace that works for you. And we all know the pool industry is absolutely bonkers right now. So being able to have that ability to self-pace on your own and not have to dedicate 16 or 20 or 24 hours of sitting in front of a screen, that just seems like game changing as well.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that, we've also had people that have taken classes with us before, maybe when we were with Genesis, and they've been asking, hey, can I repeat that one, piece, or can I jump into this, fluid engineering thing? And we've been open to that. My feeling is that, if you've paid for the class once, you should probably get the benefit of that going forward. And when we're only doing things in a synchronous format, that's really hard to do. Well, with this class, this actually gives us the opportunity to open it up to anybody that's taken the construction class with us before. Bill and Paul and I feel like everyone should be able to, repeat these things going forward. So if someone has taken the class that we did as Genesis, this is just a newer, improved version, and you can do it for free. All we need to do that is a copy of your transcript, so that we know that you did it. Send us a complete set of your transcripts. We'll go through it. We'll actually help identify other classes that might be helpful to you, but that would open up the door for you to take the class at your own pace and do it. You may only need to see part of it, and we do plan on updating things too as new information becomes available, or new technologies or whatever happen. This format allows us to just jump in and say, you know what, it's time to take, unit M and do an update on unit M. And we'll just fix up that one, make an announcement. If you've already taken it, you can go back and repeat the new version of it. Maybe there's some new drawings or something that we add to it. But for the most part, even though this is sort of hard-coded right now, to us, it's still a living document. It's still a living series of presentations that we might update, as things change over time.
Yeah, and one of the things that I don't think has been touched on too much is that you guys have recently gotten your ISET accreditation. So let's talk a little bit about that, because that's also really, that's a pretty amazing accomplishment and recognition that you guys have received now, meaning that you can offer CEUs. And so, many trades and many professionals need to get continuing education units. And you guys are now accredited through ISET to be able to offer those. And so, talk a little bit about that, because that's, there's not too many entities within the pool industry that are offering ISET accreditation and are offering ISET accredited education.
Yeah, well, we've always believed in ISET accreditation. It was something that we had talked about, right from the start of Watershape University. And, to get it, one of the things you need is actually evidence that you've been performing per your written documentation. And we've got a 35-page, instruction manual, if you will, that we built that documents all of our procedures and everything. And we actually needed to do classes, which was hard for us to do. We did our first class last March of 2020. And our second class, like 2 weeks later, we did a cost estimating. And literally that day was when everything shut down. That was March 12th. And I just remember that Friday the 13th, when it just seemed like the whole world stopped for a year. But somehow we still, had enough events and enough documentation and everything that we were able to prove to ISET that we were compliant. And they were actually really pleased with how everything was set up. We've got a great team with a lot of experience, and we've got all the systems in place, from our university management system all the way to the instructors delivering everything. So it all went through really well once we were able to get the final pieces. And one of the big things there was actually the online teaching, which had always been on our plate. Again, from day one, we had talked about doing online content because we wanted better accessibility with the programs. And we, of course, the pandemic accelerated us down that path, which was great. It was, in a way, it was sort of a nice push, because it forced us to invest in hardware like our studio here, invest in software, invest in Brett Herman to come on board, editing and pulling together all these technical pieces. So we've invested in personnel and our infrastructure, and that actually ended up affecting the ISET accreditation as well, because you have to have certain procedures even in an online content. There's still a set of rules that you need to engage with, and we had to document a lot of new processes along the way. We sort of had things set up with our live teachings, and then when we moved into online, we had to take a step back and start documenting those things as well. So now it's all dialed in, and I think we've got some great capability to produce high quality stuff without a lot of post processing, editing and things like that. So.
Yeah, and I think you're underplaying a little bit just how much work it is, because I know, I've been part of the inside of the whole launch and everything of Watershape University, and kind of the two things, that the foundation pieces that you really have been working on since day one were the construction manual. I know you were already, kind of brainstorming that and really working on getting that construction manual dialed in and fine-tuned and really into the piece of work that it is. But then also, you also started the journey of ISET accreditation. It's not something that can be done with just a series of email and and pay some fees. They're very, very stringent, and they take their accreditations very seriously. And so kudos to you and your team for being able to do that, because I know it's a very, very big process. I just want to touch on the construction manual too, because just on my drafting table right behind my computer screen here, I actually have my construction manuals from previously, and I refer back to them regularly. They're, I've got Post-it notes on the pages that I refer to all the time. And so it's not just the class that you're getting. That instruction manual is, it's not, 25 pages. I know some of the previous ones were a few hundred pages. I haven't seen the new version yet, but I'm sure that it's a significant body of work, and it's something that, you learn the information, but I know for me, I can't always retain everything, but I know that I learned it, and to have a document that I can refer back to all the time and be able to grab exactly, I had to figure out the calculation of turnover rate for underground mechanical room, and how to turn over the air in there and how many air changes I need. And I knew right where to find it within the construction manual, and dove right in. So that in and of itself is almost worth the price of admission. But I do want to say, I also want to say, what I'm very excited for students is the ability to do, your intro, your construction 2111, but then also let's start looking to the future a little bit. The International Pool Show is coming up in Dallas in November, and at the pool show, you're going to be offering advanced pool construction. And you're not allowed, you can't take advanced pool construction until you have completed the construction 2111. And so over all the previous years, I don't think there was ever a year that both of those classes were offered in conjunction at the same time. Oftentimes it was, the rhythm was, it was 2 years of basic construction and then 1 year of advanced construction. So typically you were waiting, the better part of 1 to 2 years in order to get the full education, if you want to describe it that way. But now with the launch of the online, it's very reasonable that students will be able to take both intro to construction and the advanced construction course within a 6-month period. That's just, you want to talk about taking your company to the next level. You will have all the tools that you need for that. So let's talk a little bit about the Advanced Construction School and some of the other things that you guys are going to be doing at the International Show. Really the first kind of live big event that is really going to be for the pool industry.
Yeah. Well, actually, before we talk about the expo, let me just throw this out there too. This online format of Construction 2111 is also going to occur with essential fluid engineering. So next month, by the end of next month, we should have our engineering 2311, essential fluid engineering. It's a 2-day class with the worksheets. You still get the Excel, files and everything. That will be online asynchronously as well. So now you have the chance to do construction and essential fluids, which I think are sort of the two, core classes that everyone in the water shaping industry should have. Both of those will be online. And once you've taken those, you'll be eligible for the advanced version. So now you get to the expo. In one room, we will have 3 days of advanced water shape construction. Again, that's 24 hours, it's 3 days, but it takes all of the subjects and it takes them to the next level. Instead of talking about just structural engineering, we're talking about foundations. Instead of talking about pressurized systems for fluids, we're talking about gravity systems, which start to come into play with water and transit systems like vanishing edges and slot edges and water features and things. And then there's some new subjects in there as well. There's fire features. There's indoor ventilation. You mentioned equipment rooms and things like that. Lots of indoor pools, for example, is another topic for the advanced school. So right now, what we're doing is we're actually building up a pool of students with the essential pool construction class that will be eligible for advanced when we get to Dallas in November. Simultaneously, fluid engineering, it's going to be the same thing. We're building up a group of students that will be eligible for the advanced class once we get to Dallas as well. That will be a separate classroom. You can't do construction and advanced fluids at the same time because they're parallel tracks. But if you do the fluids,
Your
you'll
brain
actually
would hurt anyway.
Yeah,
Sorry.
exactly. Yeah, we would melt your brain. But we would have the first 2 days will be the fluid engineering class, and then day 3 in that classroom is actually going to be a third offering, a blended format, which is what we're trying to do with some of our other classes. And I'm super excited about this because Kurt Kreisinger is going to be doing this program for us. He has already built a phenomenal Principles of Design class. And the way that we're delivering this program and other things like color theory is in a blended format where you will have 8 hours online as 8 roughly 1 hour units, sort of like our construction school or essential fluid engineering. And you will take those 8 hours online, get all of the training and learn the language and everything. Then when you get to the expo, that's the live hands-on lab, if you will. If you thought of this like a college where you've got your class and then you go into the lab and you're working hands-on with certain things or a team or computers or whatever. In this case, it'll be Kurt Kreisinger and 1 or 2 other instructors all teaming up to help everyone get through their projects. So you'll get the training ahead of time and then the hands-on live interactive project part as day 3 if you wanted to do the fluid engineering and that. So one thing that we love about this format is the ability for you to get started right away, because you can start that training when it becomes available as soon as the expo's registration is open, which is expected mid to late June. You'll be able to sign up and take Kurt Kreisinger's class starting immediately. And then when you get to the expo, you'll have the training part. So, and we look forward to seeing everybody there. But you don't have to wait. You can start getting the benefit of this starting in June. And then the idea that you could go to the expo and pick up 2 core classes like that in one shot, like 2 days of fluid engineering and finish up the Principles of Design, I think is a phenomenal concept that we'll be rolling out as sort of our signature delivery method, if you will, of using this blended methodology of delivery. So it's really exciting. I'm really excited about Kurt's class because just looking at the presentations, it's awesome. And he's flying out here in the next couple of weeks to do the recordings. And then that will be in Brett's hands for all the editing and everything. And we'll have all that ready to go when the expo opens up their registration in June.
Well, and one of the things that everybody will notice when they go to the sign up and they go to the online store within Watershape University is that you guys have done a masterful job of being able to keep pricing down. And that's always been one of the initial pushbacks that I hear regularly throughout the industry is, wow, it's so expensive. And it's an interesting phenomenon because the only people that I hear that from are people that have never taken one of these classes. Once they take the class, they realize the value that it is added to them and themselves personally and their companies. Generally, once the first class is done, everybody's all in. And so, but I'm just very, fascinated by the fact that you guys have been able to trim everything down and to be able to pull the pricing down so that it is more, much more palatable than it had been in years past.
Yeah, that was something Bill and I talked about when we came up with this crazy idea, in August of 2019. We said, let's take what we're doing internally, training our employees, because we couldn't afford to train them through Genesis. It was just too expensive. We said, what if we just turn that inside out, open it up to everybody, and provide lower cost education? Because we were at the point where we were only training the owners of companies. We were not getting to the people actually doing the work, and we were really limiting ourselves there, and we weren't going to change that. Prices were only going up, and we said, it's really hard for somebody to lower a price, because if you've paid $3,300 for a class and all of a sudden it's $2,400, aren't you kind of mad that you just wasted $900 on a class that now can be delivered for less money? That's different when it's just a new entity. Nobody can blame Watershape University for having high prices. So we, Bill and I, immediately set out to look at ways to use technology to reduce expenditures, reduce overhead. We already have successful companies with lots of employees that can pitch in and help with this endeavor. And of course, we got a great team out there beyond us, yourself included, lots of other people that are willing to help and they jump in all the time. And Bill and I and the whole team at Watershape University really appreciates everybody wanting to step up and do webinars and assist with things like our event in Pittsburgh last fall, with you and Rick and everybody on board. It was, that sort of team effort, I think, is what we wanted to keep continuing forward. And the team feel, I think, is part of the university's collegiate theme, if you will. And so yeah, we got the pricing. We decided that if we targeted roughly $75 per hour for the training, that feels a lot better than $150 an hour or $200 an hour. And that's where we stuck. And I actually had heard somebody tell me that they thought our pricing would go up once we got ISET accreditation. And that, I don't know where they got that from. We had never talked about price reductions because we weren't accredited for the first 9 months or whatever, or 7 months. We had always intended to keep the pricing down, and that's the case now. In fact, the live version of C2111 would normally be $1,800, and online it's $1,500, because we're not paying for meals and things. So it doesn't make sense for us to continue charging the same amount for an online class. Now, I suspect that somebody may not want to do this as an online. They might really appreciate that interactive feel. And so we do plan on offering Construction 2111 in a live format someday. Probably not, this calendar year for sure. But when we do that, the price would probably go back up to $1,800, and we would fund, lunches and a dinner or something like that. But for the most part, we're trying to, keep the pricing down for accessibility. We want everyone to be able to take this class. And if we charge $3,000 for it, we're not going to get to the people in the trenches doing the work, or the designers sitting at a drafting table drawing something up. We're just not going to get those people in here. And now what we're seeing already is that companies are coming to us and saying, hey, I want to sign up 3 people. It's not, hey, I can afford to take myself there this year. It's, I'm signing up my team or all of my superintendents. So we're starting to see, the numbers growing that way. And with the credentials and getting everyone, on the roster online and turning the credentials into a sport, getting more points on the board, I think all of that is going to contribute to a much bigger wave of people getting educated, not just the owners of the companies.
Well, and I know for myself, just recently you had the essential fluid engineering, and it was available in a live online format. And, it was the first opportunity for me to send a number of my team members through. And so we came here in the office, and I had meals and everything delivered here. And so we were able to do that here in the office because I didn't have to have the expense of flying them to a location accommodation and putting them up at a hotel and feeding them and doing all of that. So, you know, to have these core foundational courses to be available online, it just opens up so many more doors for the expansion of the knowledge base within a particular company. So it's one of the reasons why, you know, why as a former Genesis instructor, I decided to come to Watershape University. It's just because I personally believe in the vision, and I believe in what you guys are doing, and just couldn't be more supportive of education in general, but just the way that you guys have chosen to format it is just, I think it's, you know, the best that's available in the industry right now. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's let's wrap it down here. One real quick thing. So this video will be re-released on YouTube, and so it'll be on the Ask the Masters YouTube page. So if you guys are taking this in right now on the YouTube page, you're going to want to go down below here, and you're going to want to subscribe to the Ask the Masters page, and then you're also going to want to hit the little bell icon, because that will notify you when you get when we put out new content. And the reason why you're going to want that notification is that we have a very special announcement that we are, I've been teasing a little bit on Facebook all week, but for this fall, we are going to be offering free tuition for one student to the Advanced Construction School. And I'm so excited for this partnership between Ask the Masters and Watershape University, and for Watershape allowing us to offer this to our membership. And so we're going to be launching all of the details on Friday. We'll have a short, probably 10-minute video with all of the details of what we need you to do in order to qualify for that. But again, just go right down below here and just click on the subscribe and hit the bell icon, and we can and then you'll be the first to know on Friday when all of the final details are worked out and released. But let's talk a little bit more. So we've got you know, Advanced Construction School. You've already alluded to it. You've got Kurt's class, the design class, and that's, before we move on from that, Watershape University has, you know, a lot of people have, you know, talked, and there's been some chatter that it's very much just in the weeds and technical stuff. And so I've known ever since the launch that no, it's going to be a well-rounded. And so now you're starting to see the design elements coming in, and that's always been the vision. But now that Kurt's class is coming out, and there's many more in the pipeline behind it, you know, there's so much in development that we can't quite talk about yet. But you know, now you're starting to see the rounding out of the curriculum, and you know, it's stay tuned because it's only going to continue to get better. But let's talk about what else is going on at the Expo, because that's you know, we're going to have a very big presence there. Watershape University is.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely be on the floor. We've got a great spot on the floor right now, and but I think one of the fun things that we want people to join us at is our tailgate party. And we're still working out the details. We think we've got the restaurant, you know, pinned down, and we want this to be a free event for all of our teammates, and you know, the students that are in the classes, the manufacturers that are supporting us. It's going to happen on Monday the 15th. We'll start at 5:30, and there's a restaurant right near the Omni. It's actually part of that whole complex there. And there'll be a little bit of outdoor area and indoor area. And we just think of it as a tailgate party, you know, open bar with hors d'oeuvres and just fun, you know, just something simple. It won't be a full dinner, although if you want to eat a lot of hors d'oeuvres, I guess you could do that. But the idea is for us to, as we wrap up the pre-conference education, we'll all be able to get together at this restaurant, and more details will be coming out soon. And this will be by private invite. We'll know who to connect with, but it's not something you're going to register for, through the show or something like that. The show is in complete support of our plan. In fact, we met with them last week and went through a lot of details. So Informa's on board, and it's going to be a really fun event. They're helping out with some of our logistics and things there. So look for that coming up as sort of a fun extracurricular event with beer and hors d'oeuvres and things.
Well, and you guys are also going to have a large presence on the show floor. So anybody that is not taking a class or has more limited time, please feel free. I'll be in the booth. We'll all be there. So come find us on the show floor. And, as always, we typically have some surprises up our sleeve for the booth time and some of the show floor things that that we're brainstorming right now. And then also, I've already started reaching out to some different concepts for an Ask the Masters tour event. We always like to have some sort of an in-person behind the scenes type of an event. And so we're exploring a couple of different options for that. And, we're working real hard to try and put together some sort of a tour event that's going to coincide with the show as well. So stay tuned for more information on that as that develops. Yeah, and again, I just want to kind of circle back around I applaud you because I know how much work that you and Bill and the rest of the team have put into getting this online. This has been darn near a 2-year labor of love that you guys have really been birthed the concept of redoing the manual and then, bringing it full circle to where it's now online. So this is an opportunity that has never existed in our industry. And, to my opinion is that this is going to completely revolutionize and change the industry in ways that we're not even aware of yet. For all of our listeners, I encourage literally every single one of you to sign up for this class. Even if it's the only education class you ever take, a large format class like this, it will completely transform the way you think, your understanding of how a pool gets built. I just can't endorse it enough. I know when I took it, I can't even remember 2007, I believe, in Atlanta. It completely revolutionized the entire way I did construction, and it filled in some of the holes of the pieces that I wasn't quite sure of. But we're all business owners, and we all have to put forth a good face. And you don't always want to let anybody know, hey, there's this little piece that I don't really understand. And this class was really good at just knitting and weaving the entire process from beginning to end, from your initial contract with the client to final turnover and punch list. It's a seamless walkthrough of construction from beginning to end. So, hats off to you. And I really hope that this spreads like wildfire throughout the industry.
Thank you for all your help with everything and for this promotion. So, it's a $1,500 class, but you could win an $1,800 class at the Expo in November. So probably worth signing up. And if you've already taken the construction school, you could sign up one of your employees, and that would make you eligible for the class. We just got to get, and if you want to take the class yourself, repeat it. If you've taken it, with us in the past, then send us all your transcripts. We'll get you all set up so you can do it at your own pace.
Perfect. Yep. And then don't forget to tune back in on Friday for all of the details of what you're going to need to do in order to become eligible for the free class coming up in Dallas. So thanks so much for taking the time out to go over all of this with us, Dave, and just really, really looking forward to all the years and everything to come. And, we've all been so blessed this past year to be one of the industries that has really thrived during the pandemic. And I'm just excited to kind of get back to normalcy and get back to some of the in-person things. But in the interim, to be able to continue to increase our knowledge base with some of these online classes is just, it's a wonderful opportunity that we now have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks to ATM. Thanks, Michelle, Rick, Dave, everyone. Appreciate your time. You guys have a great week. Tune in Friday. See you then.
Okay. Thank you much.
A new voice in the industry, a resource for all, education for you. This is Pool Pro Podcast. Build relationships and share important news as we get ready for our next backyard adventure. Pool Pro Podcast. Backyard adventures are better together. Please take a moment to share, like, and review our content with all of those that would be interested.